Well, what's up everybody, and welcome to the channel. In today's video, we're going to take a look at the 2024 Nissan Frontier SV. This one has the Hardbody Edition package, which is around $3,800, bumps the MSRP up to $45,700. This one's also finished in the Glacier White, and you'll see some pretty cool black accents all throughout it. Big shout out to Flo Nissan of Statesville for providing this truck for today's video. Take a look at their website, linked down below. Underneath the hood of the 2024 Nissan Frontier, you're going to find that naturally aspirated 3.8 liter V6. The 6-cylinder is pumping out 310 horsepower with 281 pound-feet of torque. Also has a 9-speed automatic transmission, of course 4-wheel drive as well. Curb weight is around 4,400 pounds. The Frontier also runs on a 21.1 gallon fuel tank, and you're looking at 18 miles per gallon in the city with 23 out on the highway, and max towing capacity is close to 6,400 pounds. The overall length is 210.2 inches with a wheelbase at 126. Width is 73 inches with height at 71.4, and then ground clearance is close to 7.5 inches. Moving on to the styling with the 2024 Nissan Frontier, the Hardbody Edition package basically gives it somewhat of a retro vibe. You're going to see these halogen headlights with a chrome housing, just like, honestly, trucks from the 90s. Very simple design. Gloss black upper grille with Frontier stamped into it. Got the modern Nissan logo, and then some nice gray trim throughout the mesh with active grille shutters behind it. You have gloss black for most of this front bumper, along with a nice set of fog lights down below. You can see an aluminum skid plate down below with your steel tow hooks, and then a little bit of an opening throughout the center to provide more cooling to the V6. Got some trim on the farthest sides of this front bumper as well, and then along the hood you're going to see a pretty cool satin black vinyl graphic. There's also some sharp body lines throughout the hood as well, so it definitely kind of has like that heritage, older school, late 90s, early 2000s look. You also have a retro style for these wheels, really unique with a 3-spoke design. These are also 17-inch diameters, wrapped in a nice all-terrain tire. There's going to be black fender flares with a reflector on them, mud flaps behind that, and then a nice set of rock rails beneath that. You have your 4x4 badge on the side of the door, some nice body lines throughout the side profile, and then gloss black mirror caps and gloss black door handles. You also have all black trim surrounding the windows, and then for the side profile being the crew cab, has a nice design with the full 4-door shorter bed, and then more of those fender flare design for the rear. There's also a really cool sport bar mounted onto the bed itself, which has a really nice black powder coating to it and some mesh. You can also see a black exhaust tip, gloss black for the rear bumper with parking sensors. You have your trailer hitch in the center with all those connections, some grip on the upper side, and then Frontier is stamped to the tailgate. You have more of this black vinyl wrapped, and it says Nissan in it too, which definitely gives it a nice modern appearance. And then you see your backup camera in the center with your grab handle. There's LED lights on that sport bar as well, and you can see the sliding rear glass. And then wrapping it up, definitely a cool looking design with the red taillights matching this truck very well. Moving to the key fob, we get remote start, lock and unlock, and then panic down below. If I go ahead and lock the truck, you can just grab the door handle and press the button right here, and that will automatically lock and unlock it. You're going to see a pretty simple interior, just fabric along the seats, and then primarily all black accents with some silver. You do have some plastic material and then some nice vinyl for the insert with some padding, chrome release handle, all of your controls, and then padding on the armrest. Got a nice grab handle, silver trim, storage down below, and you're even going to see some power controls for the seats. You have some gray stitching, just some nice fabric throughout the center, very simple. Kind of two-tone with gray and black and contrast stitching. And there is a nice black leather wrapped steering wheel with more contrast stitching and the Nissan logo. And then now inside the Frontier hardbody, keep my foot on the brake and go ahead and fire it up. You got a few screens that are going to turn on. Then you can see some controls on the left side for Bluetooth and audio. You're also going to see on the right side we have cruise control settings. You can scroll through the center screen. You can see the tach on the left along with speedometer on the right. And then if I go ahead and scroll left and right, you're going to see all sorts of different information that's going to pop up throughout the center. A few off-road settings as well, of course digital speed readout, several settings throughout this truck as well for safety and other information. So pretty good use of digital as well as analog for that center screen. We have the stock on the right side for all the windshield wiper controls, turn signal on the left with all your headlight controls, and then down below we are going to see a tow mode. You have interior dimming, sensors, you can see a power outlet, and then there's even a downhill assist, cargo lamp, and traction control. You have just a black material throughout the dash with just a little bit of storage, some nice vinyl padding material with contrast stitching for the airbag cover, then the infotainment screen in the center, Definitely very simple. Nissan's pretty simple with how they have things set up, but you can see some audio controls, a few controls for settings in the menu. You can go into here as well. Camera settings will pop up as well. And then if I go ahead and put it into reverse, you have a decent backup camera with all the guidelines. Parking sensors pop up as well. So super simple in here for sure. You have auto start stop, physical climate controls with your dual zone temperature, fan speed, AC, different zones, 4-wheel drive control all the way down to 4 low. And then we do have heated seats and steering wheel, a few plugs, extra storage, 2 nice cup holders throughout the center, and then just a little bit of a leather design for the shift boot. There's these little grab handles too, finished just in plastic and silver, and then extra storage all throughout the center. We have more of this vinyl material on the padded armrest, and then a nice amount of space right in the center console. Glove box is lockable, has a pretty large bucket, and then on this right side you even have a 12-volt. One last look at the interior. This is a really simple truck. The Pro 4X with the fully loaded premium package will be the nicest offering. So this one kind of in the middle. It's not the cheapest truck, but certainly not the most loaded one as well. You have a light color for the headliner, your dome lights, there is a nice sunglass holder, and then you just have a thin basic manual mirror. Moving on to the rear seat space, just grabbing the door handle and opening it up. You're gonna see the door panel finish off just like we see up front, same padding and material. You can fold down the backrest nice and flat, as you can tell. Gives you just a little bit of storage space. You do most of the time have to remove the headrest or have the seat out of the way. Closing it back, you can see you can very easily just pop these in and out when needed. On top of that, you are able to lift the bases. There's a lever down here, and then you can lift the base and lock it up. You're gonna see a nice cubby underneath all these seats. Definitely makes it pretty roomy and useful to use this as a work truck, and then you can just pull the lever again and then pull this back down. For amenities, you're just gonna see 2 plugs along with a 3-prong outlet, and then just a little bit of storage behind that seat. And the center, you can pull this down, and you're gonna have a nice armrest with 2 cup holders. All right, so hopping into the back seat with the Nissan Frontier at 5'11" with the driver's seat at my height. This is on the cramped side for a mid-size. You know, the Tacoma, the Colorado Canyon are definitely gonna be a lot larger. Even the Ranger's a little bit larger in the back. So from the spectrum, this is gonna be the most cramped back seat. The backrest is straight up and down, really kind of uncomfortable, and my knees are gonna be touching the seat with it at my height. I mean, the armrest is nice. You have one in the center, which is a cool touch. Plenty of headroom, good sized window, of course, the manual sliding rear glass. Not the greatest amenities back here, probably on the worst end of the back seat space comparing it to the competition. But it's still usable. 3 people in a pinch wouldn't be the worst. Moving on to the bed space, I can just grab the handle, give it a little pull. It is gonna soft open. We have a plastic liner on the tailgate and then a really nice spray and bed liner all throughout. There are gonna be these aluminum rails throughout the top. You can see that's somewhat how the sport bar is mounted. That's gonna give you different areas for tie downs to utilize this bed space. On the far right side, you are gonna get a 3-prong outlet. There's a few different tie down hooks throughout this truck as well to make it pretty useful. Not the biggest bed out here. Fenders are kind of tucked away, which is nice. You can still fit 2 dirt bikes in here and make it pretty practical. From here, it doesn't really weigh all too much. You can easily close it up. All right, setting off in the Frontier. So with that old school V6, a lot of owners really like that. This is just simple. It's gonna be pretty darn robust. Really can't complain with what you're gonna get in a Frontier. So with that said, it's a pretty comfortable ride. Actually, the power seats really do give you some good adjustments. There's a lot of padding to this seat as well. So even though the back seats are pretty cramped, not really the best for an adult, front seats, really no complaints. It's definitely roomy in here. You can get yourself pretty comfortable. The steering wheel feels really nice. However, it is so heavy to turn. It's definitely something that might take some getting used to when you drive every single other mid-size truck. I mean, they are very light with the steering. This one is much heavier than you might expect. Visibility is all pretty good, kind of what you would expect from any mid-size truck. Sport bar doesn't even get in the way or anything, which is definitely pretty cool. It's a smaller truck than the other mid-size. You can tell like the rear windows are a little bit smaller. So they've kind of made this a little bit more on the compact side, comparing it to like a Colorado, a Tacoma, even a Ranger or something like that. So driving with the V6, it definitely takes some getting used to if you're getting used to the 4-cylinder turbos that are now available, especially in the Ranger, the Tacoma, and the trucks from GM. So this, you kind of got to let it downshift. You got to wring out the engine more to utilize the power. The turbo engines, you can just give it a little throttle and it's going to have a lot more torque down low. Overall though, this is a pretty quick truck though. It's actually pretty fast when you compare it to the competition with turbos. You just gotta, wring out the engine. Brakes do a pretty good job, and it's a pretty smooth truck to drive overall. There's no real drive modes or anything. Basically, you can just take manual control if you want to shift. That way you can hold the gear a little bit better. Everything's really simple and easy to use. I mean, just basic controls. This is not a fancy truck. So if you're looking for a mid-sized truck, you don't want to spend too much money. I mean, this one, 45 grand, and honestly, if you take off the hardbody package, you're talking closer to 40 grand. So pretty inexpensive when you compare it to the competition. And I feel like it kind of gives you everything you need. It's just a bare bones, normal work style truck with some cool different packages that you're able to get. It is a smooth ride. It feels very heavy and confident when you're driving it. It kind of feels like a tank. It just feels like it plows through bumps. That heavy steering makes you feel like you're in something a little bit on the tough side. So not a bad option. It's not gonna appeal to everybody. Some people might like the more fancy aspects with all the modern trucks, which are gonna cost more. So kind of that blend of, do you wanna spend a lot of money, or do you want something that kind of gives you a little bit of everything? All right, so now my perspective, honest thoughts with the Frontier. So it is definitely on the cheaper side when you compare it to the spectrum of mid-sized trucks, meaning you can get one at a pretty affordable price. The average price of a new car in today's world is nearing $50,000. So getting a nice normal trim on one of these, you know, you're significantly under the industry average. So it's nice to see that you don't have to spend so much money these days to get a mid-sized truck. Everything else is crazy expensive. You can get a Tacoma for $65,000. Same with the GMCs. I mean, some of them are pushing 70 grand for a midsize. So it is nice to see Nissan offering something like this. Kind of a more bare bones, simple midsize truck that might not be the most tech savvy or fanciest or premium materials, but it's a nice truck overall that kind of just gets the job done. And we've got a lot of comments, of course, on Tacoma content, the Ranger, all the other ones. And people are starting to look at the Frontier again just because it's kind of that simple truck like they used to be. Now, some drawbacks. The steering is very heavy. And I know you're going to make fun of me saying you must not be able to turn the steering wheel. Obviously, you can turn the steering wheel. It's not the end of the world. But it's so much heavier than everything else. It's a little cumbersome. We've had a couple of these as press vehicles, and we've gone off-roading with them. And when you're off-roading, it just takes a little bit more effort to turn the steering wheel. The power steering on the other trucks is just a little bit easier. Not to say everybody wants an easier to drive truck. Some people like to work harder to drive, which perfectly fine. I'm a manual transmission fan, so obviously I don't mind that at all. But that is just one thing you're gonna notice, and some viewers and some commenters who own these have noticed that it's a little heavy for their taste and it's a little annoying sometimes. So, of course, personal taste, you know, whatever works for you. Other than that, though, I wouldn't say there's any real drawbacks aside from it's not the nicest. I mean, this one, kind of some cheap plastic, basic fabrics. It's not really, you know, a fancy truck. Even a fully loaded Pro 4X, it's fine, but it's definitely not on the same level as a TRD off-road Tacoma with the premium package or a nice AT4 Canyon. So there are some sacrifices, but then again, when you look at the price point, for 45 grand, you can pretty much get a fully loaded Frontier. That's pretty nice. And for under 40, you can still get a workhorse of a truck, which is pretty cool to see when everything else gets pretty crazy. So this is kind of for the buyer who doesn't really care about the modern tech. They don't need everything being fancy, and they hate four-cylinder turbos. If you want just a simple truck, this is kind of what you're left with. The Jeep Gladiator with the V6 is an option, but you probably aren't the biggest fan of that if you just want a reliable, simple truck. Honda Ridgeline, cool option, but it's more of an SUV with a bed rather than like a rugged truck. So the Frontier kind of is appealing to the people who like the old Tacoma, who like the old generation Colorados, and just want a nice simple truck without breaking the bank. But anyways, that is it for the 2024 Nissan Frontier hardbody package. Neat option for sure. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for plenty more content. And a big shout out to Flo Nissan of Statesville for providing this truck for today's video. Check out their website, link down below, and I'll see you all in the next video.